Hi, my name is Frank Washcook. I'm the news editor of PR Week, and I'm happy to be joined by Bret Werner. He is the managing partner at Catalyst Public Relations. Bret, welcome.
Hey, Frank, thanks.
So the Olympics are about to launch. What do you think is the major marketing story around this year's Olympics in London?
It's a great question. I think really when we look at the Olympics right now, it is the first social games. If we look back to when the last Olympics was, Facebook was about 9 times smaller. Twitter was about 20 times as small. So we finally have an Olympic Games that from a global perspective will be our first true social games. And we've already seen indications around marquee sporting events of how the social graph influences it. During the championships of the Euro Championship that just happened, Twitter said the conversation peaked at its all-time high for a sports conversation during that final match. Now we're going to see that record challenged maybe for 19 consecutive days.
Right.
So you combine that with content that's going to be going on from here in North America, essentially from when you wake up, then to on television till you go to bed, and the conversation will be constant.
And what events do you expect to be the top trending events on Twitter, for instance?
Sure. So I think you have a couple great storylines, and I think storylines are really the epicenter of what the Olympics are about. In swimming, you have this very interesting 2 marquee names involved, and of course Michael Phelps going for the all-time record. And of course the 100-meter dash always sort of enthralls everyone, and you have some great names like Bolt in there. So I think those will be great storylines going into this Olympics. I think the storylines are unprecedented, and you could see some record ratings on NBC.
So what does that mean if you're a brand? How do you take advantage of that?
Sure. So to win in the Olympic PR game, really the race starts long before, and you have to identify who the heroes are going to be. And certain brands have made bets many months ago on who these individuals will be. Because when you leave the games, there are only going to be about 3 or 4 names that consumers remember. So part of it, has brands done their homework? Have they been able to activate prior to the games? And then to me, in this day and age, what's the digital pull-through that they're going to be able to activate during this 19-day period to really engage consumers?
Now you mentioned, of course, it's 19 days long. Other than that, what is the major difference, marketing-wise,
Sure.
For the Olympic Games than, say, the Super Bowl, or say the World Series, or the NBA Finals?
Yep, so 19 days is a long time to hold a story together, hold a campaign. Like I indicated earlier, it's about stories. I think, yes, of course it is sport, and it's one of the greatest sporting events in the world, but it's that human interest element that I think pulls so a little bit more, and that's why I think we see Olympics resonates with so many different types of audiences. So I think that is the key about the Olympics. How can you tap into that insight of storylines and nationalism, and that helps build successful programs.
Does it make a difference at all that some of the top athletes at this games, they're not really household names, or maybe they're household names every 4 years,
Sure.
as opposed to LeBron James and Kobe Bryant are on the men's basketball team, and they might not even be the most popular athletes at this Olympics? I mean, what's the big difference?
So interesting question about the athletes. I do think that only a few names do come out of each Olympic Games, but I think the really smart sports marketers leverage their Olympic assets year-round. Of course, it apexes as we get closer to the games, but if you have a Michael Phelps or a Bolt, you are marketing them on a daily basis, and you're incorporating them into the message because they really are global icons. So yes, they don't take the field every day like a LeBron James, but they do have cachet, and it should be leveraged year-round.
One more question. Rule 40. What is it? How does it affect marketing during the Olympics?
Sure. So Rule 40, in its essence, protects some of the USOC sponsors, and essentially makes non-Olympic sponsors unable to work with some of the athletes during a set period of time, just before the Olympic Games till 3 days after. It's an interesting rule. I completely understand the USOC needs to protect their sponsors. At the same time, I think smart marketers, if they play by the rules, they have a right to go out and activate in the marketplace and capitalize on this great Olympic Games.
Again, this is Frank Washcook. I'm the news editor of PR Week, and I'm here with Bret Werner, managing partner of Catalyst PR. Thanks again.
Great, thank you.